Let's get to the mailboxes, guys. This conspiracy, potentially, of Trump trying to steal the election. We've got this. The world's gone. This is a story from Informed America. The world's gone crazy when protesters show up at the home of the Postmaster General. And Rodney starts this off. Quick, name the Postmaster General of the United States. And this reminds me, and I would encourage you to go read that article on informedamerican.com. Everyone is now, and there was a comment here, I think, below that article, and I don't have it in front of me now, but it basically said how everyone's an expert in the mail now, right? Whenever there's that does seem to be the case. You see this on Twitter, social media. Whenever there's a controversy, there's suddenly everyone knows everything about the topic, and that seems to ring true too about the post office here. When what is all this all about? And if you didn't see it, a lot of this was brought to attention by celebrities about mysterious about mailboxes being taken away, so here's one from let me bring this up here. Story. This is from theblaze.com, but this comes from Taylor. Two tweets from singer-songwriter Taylor Swift. Trump's calculated dismantling of the USPS proves one thing clearly. He's well aware that we do not want him as our president. He's chosen to blatantly cheat and put millions of American lives at risk in an effort to hold on to power. Donald Trump's ineffective leadership gravely worsened the crisis that we are now in, and he's taking advantage of it to subvert and destroy our right to vote and vote safely. Request the ballot early. Vote early. So that's what's going on there. That was from Taylor Swift. We got some from Jamie Lee Curtis, a famous actress here. I swear, in broad daylight, the driver of the red truck had on a red cap with white letters. Conspiracy? Outright attempt at stealing the election by denying the access of the USPS? Let's not let it happen. Adding Joe Biden. So we've got a red truck. Now, this is really scary. This is terrifying stuff, guys. We've got a mail truck being towed away by a red truck with white lettering. Does this the president's tow service? Donald Trump Tow America. We go out, we find mailbox. I mean, there's no doubt if he's got the red truck and the white lettering on the truck, and he's probably wearing a red cap with the white lettering. I mean, that's very logical. It probably says "Make America Great Again." He's probably getting paid by President Trump. If not President Trump, he's being paid by Vladimir Putin to go out there and steal mail trucks, right? I mean, that's logical. That makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? So you've seen this is going on and around. This is what's been happening. This idea that the president is going to stealing mail trucks. He's got his thumb on the United Postal Service, so he can steal the election. Let's head over to the story from the Gateway Pundit. Another example here. Now, it also starts here. So, outraged Democrats post photo around of locked mailbox, blame Trump. But photo is from 2016. I mean, is this a surprise? Then now Pelosi is calling the House in session later in this week not to vote on assistance to the middle class, but to vote on more money to the U.S. Postal Service so they can push the country to nationwide mail-in voting. And the potential for fraud is greatly increased with mail-in voting. Democrats know this, are trying to paint Trump as stealing the election, not them. Now, this is from Rex Chapman, former basketball player. I don't know if he's if he holds a higher position now in the NBA or not. But anyways, he got 16,000 retweets. That's that. It's probably been much more like that. So look at these boxes. Look at Trump. Trump locked up the mailboxes, so you can't put in your ballot. And there we go. Yeah. So Burbank, California. Your entire life, have you ever seen a locked mailbox at the USPS? Now you have. A disgrace and immediate threat to American democracy. Shame on them. Shame on the GOP. Where are you, Senate Majority Leader? I don't know what Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. I'm not sure what Mitch McConnell has to do with mailboxes in Burbank. But hey, I mean, it's not a big deal. Oh, look at this. Yeah, Sam. And Sam went out there. Good old Sam. I live in Burbank. Just went out to check it for myself. Unbelievable. So, and then once again, this is just another media hoax. The USPS started locking up mailbox back in 2016. So this has been going on for a long time. And this story from the Los Angeles Daily News. Thieves raiding Valley mailboxes prompt Secret Service to take action. And then on a recent Sunday, this is a story here. On a recent Sunday night, Mike Bloodworth spotted something fishy going on. It looked like someone was going fishing, but there was no stream or pond nearby. Bloodworth suspecting that the person was about to break into the big blue mailbox across the street from his Van Nuys home. So he turned on the lights and saw a person hustling off. So basically, what it turned out, what they call phishing or stealing mail has become so common that postal officials have been retrofitting boxes around the San Fernando Valley and other areas to make them more tamper-proof. Says we do this when we have a lot of incidents or where there's a problem where the box may be out in a not very well-lit public place. So guys, this is not uncommon. It happens. They lock up. They put locks on them so they don't get. I guess you get in there like with a, I don't know, coat hanger or something, try to steal stuff out of there, out of the mail. And so here we go. This reminds me of the kids in cages thing with the migrant children in detention camps. Remember when the media was passing this all around, this hysteria around that? And it turned out basically just about every single photo of a child behind a chain link fence was from the Obama administration. 2014, I believe, is when it started, predating the Trump administration. And here we are, the post office. Now, since everyone's if you're unlike most of America, who are all post office and mail experts, it may be useful just to go back a little bit to see what's going on. I think there's a very helpful article from Wall Street Journal. Let me throw that up here. The post office's problem isn't Trump. Democrats cry sabotage, but mail volume is way down, and the USPS is losing billions of dollars. Says 2 months into his job, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy has been keel-hauled by the Democrats for alleged sabotage for the U.S. Postal Service. Nearly 200 House Democrats signed a letter this week accusing him of acting to accelerate the crisis at the USPS. Apparently, they missed that the post office's news release last Friday when it reported losing another $2.2 billion last quarter. Congress only has itself to blame for this mess. Now look at this. The post office is meant to be self-sufficient, but it hasn't broken even for years. Total losses since 2007 run to $78 billion, according to a May report by the Government Accountability Office, which said that the, quote, USPS's current business model is not financially sustainable. And here, it's a blockbuster service in a Netflix world. Its overall mail volume peaked in 2006 at 213 billion pieces. As of last year, it was down 33%. More than half of what remains is marketing mail. Maybe you noticed while searching for a birthday card amid the real estate flyers over the same period. However, the number of delivery points served by USPS increased by 9% from 146 million to 160 million. So what that's basically saying is that while there are more people, more households, the Postal Service is delivering less mail. Now, I mean, this goes on. This is more about the post, but I want to show you this chart here. Look at this chart. So this black line here is pieces of mail mailed each year. And you see it peaking right here in 2006, and then this gold line here is the number of addresses, basically. What I would say, delivery points is what they're calling it. And I think that what we've seen a change in how we use the mail, and one of the things that's been going on, and it's not stated here, or it is, I think, a little bit later, is that mail boxes. Most people just don't use them as much. There's the incident there that we mentioned in California where people are trying to steal mail out of them. But what's shifted for the Postal Service is there are less letters being delivered and there are more packages being sent from by people or being used by the service itself. And a lot of these mailboxes just don't get used all that much. So it's not anything. It's not surprising, right? Because again, look at this black line here. I mean, declining. These are billions of parcels or something like that. So it was up at about 200 and looks like 200 and call it 12 billion units of mail and from 2006 and a peak. And I mean, just collapsing to about 100, let's call that, I don't know, 142 billion. So a massive, massive collapse in volume. People just don't, I mean, I don't even check my mail maybe once a week. Do I even bother to even check it? Because other than maybe my power bill or my water bill or something like that, everything else is delivered electronically to me. And or if I know, the only time really I go out there is if I know there's a package delivered. If it was something that I ordered that was instead of being delivered by UPS or from Amazon Prime, which they put at your doorstep, USPS, the postal service puts it in a mailbox. That's the only time I check, because most of the time, as it said here in his Wall Street Journal thing, it's just junk mail. And I know a lot of people, maybe they like the mail or maybe they like getting the flyers. I don't. They go right in the trash unless there's something particularly interesting or maybe a coupon for an oil change or something like that. I'm just not that interested in the mail, and I don't mail anybody anything. I mean, sending a letter, very rare, unless it's like a card or something like that. And so as this change, I don't want to be redundant here, because I know so many people are experts in the mail. We're seeing that all over social media, how everybody knows everything, and that they'd never seen a lock on a mailbox before. And to be honest, I hadn't either, because it doesn't occur to me. And it doesn't seem all that surprising that we would be removing boxes that aren't being used, or for those that are potentially people trying to steal things out of them. It's not that this is not a conspiracy theory. It's just normal action. And here's another example here. Starting up from this is a tweet from Gerald Beyer. The USPS Inspector General in 2016 found that the USPS was not removing enough mailboxes. It's, quote, "We estimate removal of unnecessary collection boxes throughout the eastern area would eliminate 73,000 work hours over the next 5 years, a future cost avoidance of more than $3.5 million. And the audit did find that the boxes were often not being removed in compliance with established procedures, but it did not seem to have resulted in boxes being removed unnecessarily. If anything, not enough were being removed or relocated. This is a long-running thing, guys. That the Postal Service is changing. It's losing money. It doesn't make sense to pay someone to go out, to pay a postal worker to go out to a box that maybe there's like 2 things in, and to ride. I think in that report, which I looked through a little bit, there's one route that's like 150 miles that someone has to do. It's not necessary for there to be. I mean, how many times do you really use the box? I mean, I don't know. I mean, how often is it that you're actually using one of those blue boxes? Maybe, drop off a package or something, or you just go to a post office, or heck, go to a UPS store. And the point here isn't the dog on the Postal Service. Okay, they're losing money. I mean, fine. It doesn't mean you need to privatize it or get rid of it. I'm not even going there. And it is a government service, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. With us having a national postal service. In fact, it's authorized by the Constitution to have a postal service. So we need one. We should maintain it. But you got to reform. You can't just So they're moving some boxes. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. But this mail-in voting thing, that is the fight. That's what's going on. They want, Democrats want national mail-in voting, and the question is whether or not states can ramp this up so quickly, and if the post office could handle all of this. I think they probably could. I'm not necessarily worried about the post office, although something that did come out from, I'm not sure if it was the Postmaster General or not, but one of the warnings was not necessarily about the Postal Service's inability to handle the ballots, but it is for states where they only give you 4 days, and they say you can mail it up to 4 days before the election, which is crazy. I mean, that's not a lot of time at all. I mean, to me, if you're going to do mail-in voting, those ballots have to be in, by a minimum of a week, maybe 2 weeks. So that is the fight going on with mail-in ballots. So all this hysteria you see about locks, locks on the boxes and boxes being removed, it's not a big deal. It has nothing to do with. This is just normal procedure. The post office has been the post office is the Postal Service is in a bad spot. They lost, what was it, 78 billion they've lost over the last 8 or 10 years or something like that. I mean, it's an absolute, they're in a nosedive because people just aren't using the mail service anymore. We don't rely on it the way we did. We instead we do Amazon and stuff like that, and so it's more about packages than envelopes, that kind of thing, as we've changed. Now, you'll hear that there's no problem with mail-in balloting, all that, but we've got a couple of examples here. This one from Breitbart. Michigan rejects 846 mailed ballots because the voter was dead. They rejected up to 10,694 mailed ballots during the August 4th primary. Of those, the 846 because the voter was dead. So we're mailing to dead people, and I guess the dead people tried to vote. I guess that's the deal here. Further, 2,225 ballots were denied because there was no voter signature on the envelope. And 1,111 votes were discarded because the voter moved to a new address after submitting the ballot. The state decided that the dead voters died between the time they submitted the ballot and when it was counted. Sure. I mean, like, they all died within a week? I don't know about that. And then so this continuing, and then there's different cases here in Clark County, Nevada. The state opted for an all-mail election, and the Clark County mailed ballots to all, not just active voters, in part because of legal pressure from state and national Democrats, according to the paper. Clark County mailed, it says 1.3 million ballots, and nearly as many were as undeliverable as returned. So over 223,000 were undeliverable, and just 300,000 were returned. So 58% undeliverable ballots belong to inactive voters, according to county records. You see the issue here. Undeliverable, and so inactive voters. They're just doing mass. They just send out ballots anywhere. There was reports that we've seen in certain apartment complexes where there's just piles of ballots because either it's wrong address or something, and they're just literally just piles of ballots there waiting. Now, I would say waiting to be filled out by someone, and while others would say that's impossible. No one would ever do anything like that. I mean, no one would ever take a ballot and fill it out and try to and then submit it to try to sway an election, right? No one would ever do that. And here's what's going on. I mean, because the point is, excuse me one sec. Now, all of this can be avoided, even if let's just assume that the locking the mailboxes and removing the mailboxes. It's not about the fact that mail. Overall mail has been in serious decline since 2006. That people are trying to steal mail out of the boxes. That the boxes are rarely used. Let's just assume that the post office and the USPS and President Trump are in cahoots here to steal the election, to rig the election, to get rid of the mailboxes. There's a really simple way of defeating this evil conspiracy, which is to just take your ballot. Here you go. So I got my mail-in ballot here, say. You take it, and then you put it in your own mailbox. And then you put the flag up, and then the postal worker comes, takes your ballot, and then they send it off. I mean, this is this is frighteningly simple, guys. You don't need to walk it down to a box, right? You have them. If you live somewhere, you have your own personal mailbox, which the letter carriers deliver mail to and send mail from. It's really basic. You just put it in your own mailbox. You don't even need these stupid blue boxes, or do you? And that's interesting, right? And why might, if it's so simple? If it's so simple to avoid all of this, if there's a really obvious solution staring you in the face, which is you don't even need these blue boxes, you can just put it in your own mailbox and it will be delivered. Why the fight? Why the anger? Why would this be such a big deal? Because you can essentially bypass any nefarious plot by the president if you accept that notion. Why? There's a story here from Yahoo News. You don't need the U.S. Postal Service to deliver your mail-in ballot. Now, this talks about this is so. I'd encourage you to check this out. there are ways to. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there are ways to vote by mail without having to rely on the postal service to return your ballot. You could call it a hybrid process of receiving ballot early through the mail and then returning it in person before Election Day. Okay, so that's also another option. The postal service is the only way to receive an absentee or mail-in ballot these days. Fine. Voters don't have to use the postal service to send in their mail-in ballot. In other words, voters have a few options to return these ballots before Election Day without having to stand in line and worry about their vote being too late to count. What they have here is you mail your ballot. You take your mail-in ballot to an early voting site. These are only 5 states that don't have in-person voting this fall, according to a database, a group dedicated to increasing voter participation, right? And what they're doing here, here's what they have. They have a ballot drop. Why do we need this? I don't get this. Why do you have this? You just mail it. Well, I guess maybe if this is the day of Election Day, that's not so bad. So you can drive up. Okay, so this makes sense. There's a box here. If you don't want to mail it or if you don't want to stand in line, you could put your ballot in this envelope and drop it off the date of the election. Fine. So that's one way. You don't have to worry about the stolen blue boxes. Now, there's an interesting thing here that I want to get to. Okay, so here's this paragraph. Mark Elias, a Democratic attorney who was overseeing much of the litigation to ensure more access to voting, wrote on his blog on Friday that, quote, community organizations in states that allow ballot collection should consider setting up their own drop boxes now. Local libraries, church groups, and civic associations should explore setting up secure ballot drop boxes. There may even be a role for businesses to play in preserving our right to vote through drop box placement and security. While we all prefer that the states take on this important role, we cannot let democracy suffer at the hands of state inaction or presidential intimidation. Now, this goes back to something that I covered a number of weeks ago, which what they call ballot harvesting is also another thing where some very helpful worker who's nonpartisan, non-political, it'll be nice enough to take your ballot for you and deliver it to you or something like that. If that doesn't sound strange to you, I don't know why not. I mean, you should be responsible for your own ballot, right? I mean, if you're cognizant, competent enough to vote, you should be able to figure out a way to get that ballot into either by hand dropping it off yourself or by simply taking the friggin' thing and putting it in your mailbox and not worrying about this nonsense. So why? Because they want to be able to take all the ballots. Like those dead people that voted. Yeah, it's fine. We got, those piles of unfilled out ballots. You don't think anyone's trying to get their hands on them, fill them out, and deliver them? And if they now have the ability to deliver ballots on their own, you don't think people are trying to get those ballots, fill them out, and send them out? Why wouldn't they? Of course they would. It's a loophole. They talk about if democracy is at stake and the president is a dictator, well then, by any means necessary to quote unquote preserve democracy. You're telling me people like that wouldn't do that? Of course they would. They absolutely would. And that's what's at stake. And I want to close with something here that's said by Scott Adams, where this thing is all potentially setting up. As we're seeing this, there's been reports of not about, I've seen this on Twitter, not just about election night, November 3rd, but election week. They're already anticipating a disputed result. They're already coming out ahead of this. And really, I guess on both sides, there's the constant question: what if Trump loses and refuses to leave office? Kind of a nonsense. And so here we are. And what are they setting up? Let's go to a tweet by Scott Adams. A 2-part tweet here. The more CNN talks about what if Trump loses and does not leave his job, the more you know that coup version 2.0 is a goal. Step 1. Get mail-in voting approved to guarantee a non-credible election result. Continued. Step 2. Claim Trump's electoral victory is not legitimate. Step 3. Use media brainwashing to make it quote-unquote true that Trump really lost but has become a dictator staying in power. And Step 4. Impeach or otherwise remove Trump by non-constitutional means. Frame it as saving the nation. That rings true to me. And I would assume that should ring true to many of you. This could be a very, very, very ugly election. as we're shaping out, no matter who wins. I mean, I'm not saying, not as though Trump is above doing any of this either, but it could get very, very nasty. And by the way, those protesters some of that has calmed down, although we saw an outburst in Chicago and Portland. It's still ongoing. Don't be surprised if you see weird, crazy demonstrations going on election night, intimidation, people trying to block people from voting, and then we saw some of these peaceful protests. I've covered this, peacefully burning, trying to burn down a building, peacefully punching people, peacefully shooting things at cops, never ending. We're going to see those same peaceful protesters. Just imagine if President Trump gets reelected and it's decided on election night, cities may burn. This is very, very serious. Oh, I got a comment here from Ralph S. Ward. I'll read this before we get out of here. Hi. I'm the admin, and I hope from the depths of my fraternal heart and humility to invite you to all the people to join this group in the fight to expose the truth. Hashtag save our children. The light will come out together. I don't know what that is. That may be something. I don't know. Not familiar with that is, but thank you for the comment. Maybe check out that link in just a bit. Well, that is all, everyone. I thank you all for joining. Now you are armed with the facts here surrounding the issue of disappearing mailboxes. So contrary to what maybe Jamie Lee Curtis led you to believe, what Rex Chapman led you to believe, and what Taylor Swift says, no, this is not happening. It's normal. The post office is suffering. They're getting rid of boxes that aren't being used. People just don't use the mail, not nearly as much as they used to, in a real simple way to avoid this is just by sticking your ballot in your own mailbox. We don't need these collection boxes, and we certainly don't need ballot harvesting. And as we go through this information war, remember, everything is fake. Now, I want you to head on over to informedamerican.com to check out that article earlier. If you want to, as Rodney did a little bit of a deeper dive into there, covering some of the issues going on with the Postal Service and people protesting the home of the Postmaster General. And then when you're at informedamerican.com, I want you to just sign up for our email newsletter just by sharing your email, and you will get real smart news in your inbox. Thank you all for watching. I want you to be a member of our Facebook group if you aren't already, and always head on over to informedamerican.com and also our YouTube channel, youtube.com/bigimpactmedia. Well, that's all I've got for today. I hope you have a great one if you're watching a Democrat convention, or if you're getting into an argument with your friend about Trump stealing the election with mailboxes. You've got all the facts now armed on your side to talk about this issue. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.